Okay, so on to homework 15, the normal distribution. So what I have shown here is a normal distribution. A normal distribution is simply a distribution where your mean equals the median equals the mode, and that would be this middle value. So when the mean equals the median equals the mode, we saw that gives us this nice symmetric bell-shaped curve. And due to the nature of this normal distribution, and this is why normal distributions are important, is because if you have a normal distribution, you know how your data is going to fall. And when I say you know how your data is going to fall, is the following. So here, you're right at the mean, median, and mode. And if you go one standard deviation to the right, so sigma denotes standard deviation. So here you are at the average. And if you go one standard deviation to the right, you know in between the average and one standard deviation, 34.13% of your data lives within that range. Similarly, if you go between one standard deviation and two standard deviations, you know approximately 13.6% of your data is going to fall between one standard deviation to the right and two standard deviations to the right. So if you take the 34 and change plus the 13 and change plus the 2 and change plus the 0.13 and you add up these percents, you should see that it's 50%, and that's because, well, 50% of your curve is to the right and then 50% of your curve is to the left. And then so these percentages listed is the percent that would or the percent of your data that falls in between the listed standard deviations. So this +1 standard deviation, +2 standard deviations, -2 standard deviations, -1 standard deviations, these integers are referred to as the z-score. So here you would have a z-score of +1. Over here you would have a z-score of -3. So the z-score is telling you how many standard deviations to the left or the right you are from the average. And this picture here has a more clear example of these z-scores and how these z-scores measure how far or how many standard deviations you are away from the average. So if you have a z-score of +3, that means you are 3 standard deviations to the right of the average. If you have a z-score of -4, that means you have, so if you have a z-score of -4, that means you are 4 standard deviations to the left of the average. All right, so that's a quick explanation on the normal distribution. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and jump into the homework. All right, I'll see you on the next one.